stop right there. Before you scroll away, before you dismiss what I'm about to tell you, I need you to understand something that could completely transform how you approach the most important decision of your life. I'm going to challenge everything you've been taught about love and marriage, and I guarantee you that by the end of this conversation, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. I want you to imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of a cliff. Below you is a vast ocean, and you're about to dive in. But here's the thing. You can't see the bottom. You don't know how deep it is. You don't know what's underneath the surface, and you definitely don't know if you'll survive the impact. Yet millions of people make this exact leap every single day when they decide to marry someone simply because they're in love. And let me be clear from the start. I'm not here to tell you that love doesn't matter. I'm not here to crush your romantic dreams or turn you into a cynical person who doesn't believe in human connection. What I am here to do is wake you up to a truth that could save you from years of heartbreak, financial ruin, emotional devastation, and the kind of regret that eats away at your soul for decades. The truth is this: love is not enough. Love has never been enough. And if you marry someone purely because you're intoxicated by that feeling, you're setting yourself up for one of the most painful experiences a human being can endure. I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, who is this person to tell me about love? What does he know about my relationship? My situation is different. And you know what? You're absolutely right to question me. You should question everything I'm about to say. But I also want you to consider this. What if everything you've been told about love and marriage is wrong? What if the very foundation of your beliefs about relationships has been built on quicksand? Think about this for a moment. We live in a society where the divorce rate hovers around 50%. 50%. That means that half of all marriages end in divorce. But here's what's even more disturbing. That statistic only accounts for the marriages that actually end legally. It doesn't account for the countless couples who stay married but are absolutely miserable. It doesn't account for the people who are living in emotional prisons, who wake up every day next to someone they can barely stand to look at, who go through the motions of marriage while dying slowly inside. So let me ask you this. If love was really all we needed, if that magical feeling was sufficient to sustain a lifelong partnership, then why are we failing at such an astronomical rate? Why are so many people who once claimed to love each other more than anything in the world now paying lawyers thousands of dollars to divide up their possessions and fight over who gets the children on weekends? The answer is simple, yet most people refuse to accept it. They married for the wrong reasons. They confused temporary emotions with permanent compatibility. They mistook chemical reactions in their brain for wisdom about life partnership. They allowed themselves to be blinded by feelings instead of making one of the most important decisions of their lives with clarity, intention, and strategic thinking. The teachings of providence lie without a teacher in their ability to change evil thinking. But I'm going to tell you something that might shock you. The most successful marriages in history were not based primarily on love. They were based on compatibility, shared values, mutual respect, aligned life goals, and practical considerations. Love grew from these foundations, not the other way around. When you build a house, you don't start with a decoration. You start with a solid foundation. Yet, when it comes to marriage, most people are trying to build their entire life on nothing but decoration. Let me paint you a picture of what typically happens when people marry for love alone. Two people meet, and there's an instant attraction. The chemistry is undeniable. They can't stop thinking about each other. Every text message sends a thrill through their body. Every kiss feels like fireworks. They spend hours talking, and it feels like they've known each other forever. They start to believe that this person is the one, their soulmate, their perfect match, their missing piece. This is what we call the honeymoon phase. And it's one of the most dangerous periods in any relationship because it creates an illusion of perfect compatibility. During this phase, your brain is literally flooded with chemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, that make you feel euphoric and create a powerful emotional bond. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. This phase is temporary. It always ends. The chemicals stabilize, the novelty wears off, and suddenly you're left with the real person underneath all of that initial excitement. And this is where most relationships begin to crumble. Because when the chemical high wears off, people start to see their partner clearly for the first time. They notice the habits that annoy them. They realize their life goals don't align. They discover that their communication styles are incompatible. They find out that their approaches to money, family, career, and lifestyle are fundamentally different. But by this time, they're already married. They've already committed their lives to someone based on a temporary emotional state. I want you to understand something crucial. Those feelings you experience during the honeymoon phase are not love. They're infatuation. They're biological responses designed to encourage reproduction and pair bonding. But real love, mature love, sustainable love is something entirely different. It's built over time through shared experiences, mutual support, respect, and compatibility. It's not something you fall into, it's something you grow into with the right person under the right circumstances. Now, I'm not telling you to become a robot who ignores emotions entirely. Attraction and connection are important components of a successful marriage. What I'm telling you is that they should never be the primary reasons you choose to spend your life with someone. They should be the cherry on top of a sundae that's already been built with much more substantial ingredients. So what should you look for instead? What should be the foundation of your marriage if not just love? I'm going to break this down for you in a way that could literally save your life from years of misery. First, you need to look at values alignment. And I don't mean surface level values like we both like dogs or we both enjoy hiking. I'm talking about core life values, the fundamental beliefs and principles that guide how a person lives their life. How do they view money and financial responsibility? What's their relationship with their family? And how do they want to structure their own family life? How do they handle conflict and disagreement? What are their career ambitions? And how do those align with the kind of life you want to build together? I've seen countless marriages fall apart because two people who were deeply in love discovered that they had completely different visions for their future. One person wanted to travel the world and live minimally, while the other wanted to settle down and build wealth. One person valued career advancement above all else, while the other prioritized family time. One person believed in traditional gender roles, while the other expected complete equality in all household responsibilities. These differences might seem manageable when you're caught up in the excitement of new love, but they become sources of constant conflict and resentment when you're trying to build a life together. And here's the thing about values, they rarely change. You can't love someone into having different core values. You can't convince someone to want different things from life just because you're married to them. The second thing you need to examine is lifestyle compatibility. Do you have similar energy levels? Are you both morning people or night people? Do you like the same social situations, big parties or intimate gatherings? How do you both like to spend your free time? Do you have similar cleanliness standards? What about diet and health habits? I know these might seem like small things, but they're not. These are the details of daily life, and daily life is what marriage actually is. It's not the romantic dinners and weekend getaways. Those are just the highlights. Marriage is waking up next to the same person every day, sharing living space, coordinating schedules, making decisions together about everything from what to have for dinner to where to spend holidays. If you're a highly social person who gets energy from being around people, and you marry someone who's deeply introverted and needs lots of alone time, that's going to create tension. If you're someone who likes everything neat and organized, and you marry someone who's comfortable living in chaos, you're going to drive each other crazy. If you're a health-conscious person who exercises regularly and eats carefully, and you marry someone who lives on fast food and considers walking to the mailbox adequate exercise, you're going to struggle to build a life together. Third, you need to look at communication compatibility. How does this person handle disagreements? Do they shut down and give you the silent treatment? Or do they explode and say hurtful things they can't take back? Are they able to express their needs clearly, or do they expect you to read their mind? When you try to discuss problems, do they listen and work toward solutions, or do they get defensive and turn every conversation into an argument about something else entirely? Communication is the foundation of every successful relationship, yet it's one of the most overlooked factors when people are choosing a marriage partner. They are so focused on how good the person makes them feel when everything is going well that they never pay attention to how they interact when things get difficult. But here's the reality. Things will get difficult. You will disagree about important issues. You will face challenges and stress and unexpected problems. How you communicate during these times will determine whether your marriage survives and thrives or slowly disintegrates. I want to tell you about something I've observed over years of watching relationships succeed and fail. The couples who make it long-term are rarely the ones who had the most passionate, overwhelming love stories in the beginning. They're the couples who built their relationship on a foundation of friendship, respect, and practical compatibility, and then allowed love to grow from that foundation. Think about your best friendships. What makes them work? Probably shared interests, similar values, easy communication, mutual respect, and genuine enjoyment of each other's company. You don't stay friends with someone just because you have strong feelings for them. You stay friends because you actually like them as a person and enjoy spending time with them. Yet when it comes to marriage, people somehow think that intense romantic feelings are more important than actually liking and respecting the person they're going to live with for the rest of their lives. This brings me to another crucial point. You need to marry someone you genuinely like, not just someone you love. I know that sounds strange, but think about it. Love can be blind, but liking someone requires that you see them clearly and still enjoy their company. When you like someone, you appreciate their personality, their sense of humor, their intelligence, their character. You enjoy talking to them about both serious and silly things. You respect their opinions, even when you disagree with them. Too many people marry someone they're infatuated with, but don't actually like very much. They find their partner's personality traits annoying or boring, but they stay because of the physical attraction or the emotional intensity. This is the recipe for disaster. Because attraction fades and emotional intensity diminishes, but personality traits remain constant. If you don't genuinely like who your partner is as a person, you're going to spend decades living with someone who irritates you. Now, let's talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but is absolutely crucial to address. The role of attraction and physical chemistry. I'm not saying these things don't matter at all. They do. Physical intimacy is an important part of most marriages, and you need to feel attracted to your partner. But the problem is that our culture has taught us to prioritize physical attraction above everything else, and this leads to terrible decision-making. Physical attraction is important, but it should be just one factor among many, not the driving force behind your choice of life partner. And here's something most people don't understand. Physical attraction can grow over time when it's built on a foundation of emotional connection and respect. Some of the most passionate, satisfying long-term relationships started with people who weren't initially each other's physical type, but developed deep attraction as they got to know each other better. On the flip side, relationships that are built primarily on physical attraction rarely last. When physical appearance changes, and it will change, because that's what happens to human bodies over time, there's nothing left to hold the relationship together. The couple discovers they don't actually have much in common, don't enjoy each other's company, and don't share the same vision for their life together. I want you to think about this differently. Instead of asking yourself, am I attracted to this person? Ask yourself, could I see myself being attracted to this person for the rest of my life? Instead of focusing on how they look right now, think about the kind of person they are and whether that's the kind of person you want to wake up next to when you're both 70 years old. This leads me to one of the most important concepts I want to share with you. The idea of growing together versus growing apart. Every person changes over time. The person you are today is not the same person you were 5 years ago. And you won't be the same person 5 years from now. This is natural and healthy. We're supposed to grow and evolve throughout our lives. The question is, when you change and grow, will you change in compatible directions or will you grow apart? This depends largely on whether you share core values and life philosophies. People who share fundamental beliefs about what matters in life tend to grow in similar directions, even as they change as individuals. People who have different core values often find that they grow apart over time, even if they start out feeling very compatible. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people who both value personal growth and learning. As they go through life, they might develop new interests, take on new challenges, and evolve in various ways. But because they both value growth, they're likely to support each other's evolution and find ways to grow together. They might take classes together, travel to new places, or encourage each other to pursue new hobbies or career opportunities. Now imagine two people where one values stability and predictability while the other values adventure and change. Initially, they might be attracted to each other because they're different. The stable person appreciates the excitement their partner brings, while the adventurous person appreciates having a steady anchor. But over time, these different values are likely to create conflict. The stable person will want to settle down, establish routines, and build security, while the adventurous person will want to keep exploring, taking risks, and trying new things. Neither approach to life is wrong, but they're not compatible for a long-term partnership. One person will always be pushing for more stability, while the other is pushing for more change. And this creates a constant source of tension and resentment. This is why it's so important to look beyond the surface-level compatibility you feel during the honeymoon phase and really examine whether your fundamental approaches to life are aligned. Do you both have similar attitudes toward risk? Do you both value the same things? Career success, family relationships, personal growth, financial security, social contribution? Do you both have similar timelines for major life milestones like buying a house, having children, or retiring? These might not seem romantic, but they're the building blocks of a successful life partnership. Romance comes and goes, but compatibility determines whether you can actually build a life together that makes both of you happy and fulfilled. Let me share with you another perspective that might challenge your current thinking. In many cultures throughout history, marriages were arranged by families, and these marriages often had much higher success rates than our modern love-based marriages. Now, I'm not advocating for arranged marriages. I believe strongly that people should choose their own partners. But there's something we can learn from this approach. When families arranged marriages, they looked at practical considerations: family background, financial stability, character, work ethic, values, and long-term compatibility. They understood that marriage was not just about the feelings between two people. It was about creating a stable partnership that could withstand the challenges of life and provide a good foundation for raising children and building wealth and security. These arranged marriages often developed into deep, lasting love precisely because they were built on solid foundations. The couples learned to appreciate each other's character, to respect each other's contributions to the family, and to work together as a team. Love grew from partnership, rather than partnership being expected to grow from love. I'm not suggesting you should ignore your feelings or marry someone you don't care about. What I'm suggesting is that you reverse the typical approach. Instead of falling in love and then hoping you're compatible, find someone you're truly compatible with and then allow love to develop from that foundation. This brings us to another crucial factor that most people completely ignore when choosing a marriage partner: financial compatibility. Money is one of the leading causes of divorce, yet couples rarely have serious, detailed conversations about finances before they get married. They're so caught up in the romance that they avoid practical topics, or they assume they'll figure it out later. But financial incompatibility can destroy even the strongest emotional connection. If one person is a spender and the other is a saver, if one person believes in taking financial risks while the other values security, if one person expects to maintain a certain lifestyle while the other has different priorities, these differences will create constant stress and conflict. Stress and conflict. And I'm not just talking about how much money each person makes. I'm talking about their entire relationship with money. How do they make financial decisions? Do they research major purchases carefully, or do they buy impulsively? Do they stick to budgets, or do they spend freely and worry about consequences later? What are their long-term financial goals? Do they want to retire early and live simply, or do they want to work longer and maintain a higher standard of living? How do they feel about debt? What about investing and taking financial risks? These differences in financial philosophy can make it impossible to build a secure future together, no matter how much you love each other. I've seen couples who adored each other end up divorced because one person's spending habits made the other feel constantly anxious and insecure. I've seen marriages destroyed because one person wanted to buy a house while the other preferred to rent and travel. I've seen relationships ruined because one person was comfortable with debt while the other couldn't sleep at night knowing they owed money. Before you commit to spending your life with someone, you need to have detailed, honest conversations about money. You need to understand not just their current financial situation, but their entire approach to financial decision-making. And if you discover that your approaches are fundamentally different, you need to seriously consider whether this is someone you can build a stable future with. This connects to a broader point about the importance of shared life goals. When you're in the throes of new love, it's easy to focus on how good you feel together in the present moment. But marriage is not about the present moment. It's about the next 50 years of your life. Are you and your potential partner heading in the same direction? Do you both want children, and if so, how many and when? What are your ideas about parenting styles and education? Do you both want to live in the same type of location, urban, suburban, or rural? What about proximity to family members? Do you have similar career ambitions and expectations about work-life balance? How do you each envision spending your retirement years? I've watched countless couples struggle because they never discussed these fundamental questions before getting married. They assumed they wanted the same things. Or they figured they'd compromise later. Or they thought love would somehow make the differences irrelevant. But differences in life goals don't disappear just because you love someone. They become sources of ongoing conflict and disappointment. One person dreams of living in a big city and pursuing an ambitious career, while the other wants to settle in a small town and focus on family life. One person wants to travel extensively and experience different cultures, while the other wants to buy a house and create a stable home base. One person wants 3 or 4 children, while the other wants at most 1 or 2. One person plans to retire early and pursue hobbies, while the other wants to work as long as possible and build wealth. These aren't small differences that can be easily resolved through compromise. They represent fundamentally different visions for what a fulfilling life looks like. And when two people with different life visions try to build a life together, someone is going to end up disappointed and resentful. The tragedy is that this disappointment and resentment often don't surface until years into the marriage, when it becomes clear that the couple is heading in different directions. By then, they may have children together, shared financial obligations, and intertwined lives that make separation extremely difficult and painful. They end up feeling trapped in a life that doesn't match their dreams, and they often blame each other for holding them back from what they really wanted. This is why it's so important to have these difficult conversations before you get married, not after. You need to understand not just who this person is today, but who they want to become and what kind of life they want to build. And you need to be honest with yourself about whether their vision aligns with yours.